Well, okay, we're straight live.
We are straight live. I don't know if we've got anybody.
Straight
I can't
live.
see the chat. So if anybody can see anybody in the chat, let me know, please. And if there is anybody in the chat, if you could just give us a hi in the comment section, and then we'll know that we are reaching you wherever you may be. Probably won't be able to reach you if you're on the other side, but be able to reach you on this side, so that's good. So is Rita in there yet, Eric?
No, not yet. Hey, there, we're live.
He's in the kitchen.
She's in the kitchen. Where else would he let? The poor woman's in the kitchen.
Hey, this subject you picked on, I'd never heard of this, dude.
You're not heard of Krampus?
No, I know.
Well, do you know what? As far as we're concerned, in this country, I think we've only the last 10 years maybe that it's become a thing, and that's because of the film. And I watched the film. The film, to be honest, I wasn't that keen on. But anyway, forget the film. The origins of it is what I was interested in, because I looked at it and I thought to myself, you know what? He's meant to be a horned deity, or a horned demon, as they call him.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, anything that's got that sort of Abrahamic attachment to it, obviously might be able to trace it back to his pagan roots.
Well, yeah.
So I went online and I looked at some of the information on there about him, and it said there was a historian there, and she said she belied herself a little bit, because she said, or maybe I misheard her, or I'm misrepresenting what she said. So it might be me, might not be her at all. But she said that he didn't really become apparent until the 19th century, when Christmas took off. Obviously, you had St. Nick, and he became the polar opposite of St. Nick. And so what he represents, well, I'll get onto it a little bit later, but what he's a representative of, she said that he was seen as a sort of half-man goat demon type thing. And he was a representative of the negative side. So if you didn't represent Christmas the way that it should be, and you didn't keep it in your heart the way you should be, or you were negative, then what he would do, he would come along and he would either he would steal children that were bad all year, or steal children that weren't particularly nice. And what he would do is there's two different ideas. So the first one was that he would take them and eat them, put them in his sack or in his satchel and eat them. And then the other one was, or he would take them straight to hell.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's enough to frighten the life out of a kid. And I knew it was German. I knew the origins of it was German, but I didn't know that it was also Czechoslovakian and Slovakian.
Yeah.
Eastern Europe as well, but mainly around the Germanic part. It really came from Austria, Germany, Switzerland, all around there it was really. And it was just really intriguing. And then she said, of course she said that it's nothing to do with paganism. And I thought, I don't know. I'm not too sure about that. And then she said, well, then we found some other information on him going back to the 15th century. So now he's gone back even further to the 1400s. And then I went onto another site and looked it up and had a bit of a read up of some paperwork and that. And it turns out that they can trace it back, some of the origins of it, back to the 1100s. So you're now going back 1,000 years. But just talking about it now. Who's that, you, Viv?
No, that's me.
Oh, was that you?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So so what it was, it goes back. So you're looking at 1,000 years, and the church, they utilised this image of Krampus, and they wanted that is their representation of the devil. So they said, this is the devil. This is Krampus. This is what have you. And then I thought, right, if the church had turned, these Abrahamic religions have turned him into a demon or a devil, then his origins must go even further back than that. And looking at the way that he represents it, or they represent him, and looking at the way that he is, I would think that he was probably a pagan deity at some point. But like all pagan deities, whether it's Herne the Hunter, or as we know as the Green Man, or whether it's Cernunnos or what have you, it's just the church have used that paganite, that they've used that pagan deity, and they've represented it as something that's demonic or dark or evil. So if the church had seen fit to make something like him with horns, hooves, but a human face, in some cases a skeletal face or a goat face, if they make something like that abhorrent in their eyes, or try to make it abhorrent and try to make it negative and then associate it with Christianity, then that must obviously go way back into the pagan. Must go back into the pagan. That's the only way I can see it. So
Yeah.
it must
I
be
reckon
pagan.
you're right. Yeah,
You know,
I
it must
reckon
be
you're right.
pagan. And
Does-
it's interesting because they still have things like particularly in Germany and Austria, they have things called what's it called? It's called Krampusnacht. So Krampus night, Krampusnacht. And what they do is they go around and they proper go for it, because I was watching some videos on it, and he is said to carry birch in one hand and some implement in the other. I can't think of a pitchfork in one hand and birch in the other. And what he does and what they do is they go round and they physically hit people and children in the crowds with this birch.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They beat the kids and the children. This is one of their ceremonies. This is like one of their, like a Christmas pageant. You got loads of Krampuses turn up, and they will beat the public. And the public love it. They love it. They absolutely love it because it represents, that dark image.
Bloody hell.
So I mean, it's amazing. And then you look at that, and then you look at, there's many different legends, myths, and different what used to be considered deities that have now latterly been associated with the Christian church and associated with the negative part of it.
Wow.
So there's so many out there, so many of these myths and legends out there, and it's. I found some information last night there's about 10 different characters that I found on one page that all go back to paganism in their origins, but then they were represented as demonic later on, and they became negative representations, which is what the church achieved to do, didn't it? Is what its aim was.
Oh, bloody hell, yeah.
But it was so interesting. And it was just one of those things. I thought, it'd be nice to find out the origins of it. Hi, you're William. I hope you're doing well. Merry Christmas, sir.
Doesn't Krampus translate to claw?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. It does indeed. It does indeed. He's also got a wife. I can't think what I can't remember now off the top of my head what the name of the wife was. There's a particular name that is attached to her, but it's also the name of. It's the pagan name or the original name of the Krampuses, but she uses that name as well. And she's meant to be a cross between something that's like a goat woman with horns and also a witch. And they think that Snow White, the witch in Snow White, is a representation of Krampus's wife, or a Krampus. And I guess it would, because Snow White would have been, if you think about it, she would have been by the Brothers Grimm, and they were German. So it all goes back to that sort of Germanic origins, which I found really interesting, really intriguing. But they don't see him as, in Germany, they see him as somebody who, not so much demonic, but they see him as somebody that punishes people that do not hold Christmas in their heart the way that it should be. So you can take from that whatever you want, But it's interesting. But the church were the first ones, as they always are, try and represent him as a negative being. But it's really interesting. And Viv went to she said she was out on the weekend or something. She popped out to get something, and she went to a market and they had a Krampus day there or something. So she had a photo up with some Krampuses.
Oh, bloody hell.
But so it's becoming popular.
Did it start on December the 5th?
It's December the 5th. It's Krampusnacht. It's also
did I read it?
Yeah. Well, I spent quite a lot of time in Switzerland, many months in Switzerland at one point, and the one thing that I spent Christmas over there a few times, and the one thing they used to celebrate was the Christmas was on the 24th of December, and then that was it, right? But they had lots of different traditions out. They've obviously been where I was. It was in the Germanic part of Switzerland. So it was in a place called, what was it? It was in a place called Cassel, which is a little village off the lake there. And being the Germanic part, they had lots of different legends and that they used to do at that. Different legends and different customs that they would carry out at that particular time. So obviously, Christmas in the Germanic part of the world was celebrated at a different time than it would have been over here. So the 4th and 5th of December would have been his night. But they said that's when Father Christmas would have come as well. So they both would have arrived, and then preceding Father Christmas, you would have had him, and then after he'd finished, Father Christmas would then take over. So it's an interest, or Saint Nicholas, which I believe is a Turkish guy, I think. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's really interesting, and the fact that I mean, it's things like things like elves and things like fairies and a lot of that stuff. Not particularly fairies, but things like elves and things like trolls and that are very, very steeped, really, really steeped in Germanic lore. Don't think you will find it's anything to do with pagans. Well, interesting, William. I think it is. I think there's a tenuous link there.
It is. It is.
I think it is. Because I thought that. I didn't. Krampus is a fascinating figure from Central European folklore. Yeah, particularly popular in Austria and Germany. Yeah, he depicts a half goat, half demon creature who punishes. Because the origins, as I can see, go back. I can found 1,100 years ago. That's the first origins of him. So, but prior to that, obviously there must have been a representation of him prior to that, because the church utilised that image as the devil, what they consider to be the devil, or
I saw that today.
I think he probably is somewhere there. I think that you go deep enough, you can probably but it's lore, isn't it? And the church, because they bugger about with a lot of the history and the lore of things, it tends to confuse the issue, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it creates a smoke screen. So it's hard to pull all that crap out of the way to find the truth and the origins behind the tale. But yeah, I think it's a great story. So that's something to attach everything.
Yeah,
Exactly. And not everything is, absolutely. But that, I think that seems to be, from what I can make out and from the origins of it, and that it seems to go back a long, long way. But I agree, some folks do attach everything to paganism, and that's not the case. But there is but by the same token, there's a lot that can be attached to paganism. Hi, you Chris.
Grizzly Chris.
So I mean, but it's amazing how many different of these myths and legends and fairy tales, that stem from the Germanic part of the world, have got some sort of foot that goes much, much further back.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes from Germany, doesn't it? The pagan stuff. I mean, the Christmas trees and all that.
It does. Yeah, I saw the film. Yeah, I thought the film.
I haven't seen the film.
You haven't missed much.
Is it a new film then, or is it
last year?
It's probably about 10 years old now, isn't it?
Oh, is it 10 years?
Oh, it might be. It's quite. I might be wrong. I know it's not. It's been around for a while, isn't it? The film.
Well, I know they redid one last year, so.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I know because I looked on YouTube today when you said what we were doing for a bit of research. It's going to be all over everywhere now. Everything I look at is going to be there, isn't it?
It's exactly. You don't notice it, do you? Hi, Sarah.
And it'll be there, Sarah. Yeah. It'll be there. It'll be all over. It'll be all over the place.
It's true. It's true. When somebody brings it to your attention, then all of a sudden it's like, how have I walked around and not noticed this?
Not only that, on the internet, you look at summer, and then it appears everywhere, doesn't it? When you look at the computer.
It does. It's like, do you know what? It's like if you've got a car and you've never seen one before. As soon as you get into that car, you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like they're everywhere. William was saying he liked the film The Wishmaster. I like The Wishmaster.
Yeah,
you want to watch that? That's good.
What's that?
The Wishmaster.
Yeah, Wishmaster.
Yeah, it's a great film. Great, they're brilliant.
I've not heard of that one either.
That TV show, Grimm did an episode like that for Krampus too, and the guy didn't even know that he turned into this Krampus thing.
But you know what? I would imagine that Krampus is probably very well known in the United States, because you had a lot of German immigrants that went over there, didn't you? And Austrian immigrants that went over there sort of in the 19th century, and they would have taken it with them, I guess.
Yeah.
So I would think that Krampus is probably a much bigger thing than it is in America, than it is at this side of Europe.
Germans started migrating here from the war in Germany, so that's when they came over.
Yeah. So they would have brought all of that with them, wouldn't they? They've taken it with them. Hi, Chantel.
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting.
Bloody hell.
It's amazing how these cultures travel, isn't it? But then, if you look at different cultures, different cultures in the world have got a representation of a similar thing, depending on where you come from. You know, so it's all sort of interconnected. I think the world's probably a lot smaller than we imagine it to be, and I think
it is.
But definitely now.
definitely
that it
now,
was-
definitely now, and I think people have probably been encroaching on or into different territories well, we know that they have, but different cultures and what have you, and different peoples been moving around a lot soon, you know, a lot sooner than we give it credit for.
Yeah,
It is interesting. But as I say, that's just one of the legends. The Krampus thing is just one of the legends.
Yeah.
But he's particular. He's quite a dark figure, particularly when it involves children. You know.
Yeah.
But it's talk about scarring your kids for life. Hi, Jamie. Talk about scarring your kids for life. No. Hazel trying to get in on here.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting. But I'd like to look into it a lot more, and I'd like to look into a lot of the other legends that are attached to it. You know, because he's got his wife, and there's more than one Krampus, and it sounds like there's a particular breed of whatever, you know, particular genus of something. It's really interesting.
I wonder if it's like Santa turned into this thing at a certain time of year.
Well, I think they both run concurrent. They both run alongside each other. And they both turn up as Tim was saying. They both turn up on the 5th of December, 4th of December, and then turn together. But Krampus does his thing, and then Father Christmas comes along just after. But it's interesting. But as I say, I knew that the legend was that he took children away and he cut them up and ate them. But what I didn't know is that he would also the other part of it was that he would take them to the bowels of hell, which is terrifying. Really, for kids to think like be brought up with that, fucking terrifying, isn't it? It's unbelievable, you know. But you know what to control kids.
Talking about being on a naughty list.
Exactly, and that is your naughty list, isn't it? That's Krampus. That is your naughty list.
He's right behind you, Eric. Anyway,
he is right behind Eric. Eric's been bad this year. Look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Krampus behind him. It's like you got two horns coming out of your head. Horns.
I know that's what I'm doing.
Hey, you got that thing coming up behind you. You would be worried, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you big time. You'd be worried, big time. You know.
You get big foot.
If you do this, it looks like you're eating your head.
But it is interesting, isn't it, how these things come about, these legends.
Yeah, you know? I mean, where did it start? Like, say, you trace it back to the 11th century, you said?
It is. 11th century. Yeah, so you're looking at about 1,000 years, what have you. So it's quite a trip back on it. And then, obviously, the origins go much deeper than that and further back than that.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
We're not, no. He's much worse than Krampus.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's very odd. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. You know, and there's lots. I mean, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? A lot of these deities and what have you that have been misrepresented over the millennia by people with their own agenda or what have you. We'd never really get to the bottom of it.
It seems to all be picking. I don't know if it's my imagination, but everything seems to be picking up in the paranormal world.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. There definitely seems to be the world, and I'm not just talking about England or Britain. The world seems to have gone into a very sort of dark phase at the minute, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It does, yeah.
Lots of negativity, lots of nastiness, lots of. I've never known the world to be so divided, really, and it's you know it's very odd. It's very odd. It's just odd. It's just really odd and quite frightening, really, because you never know quite what to expect. I mean, the world's been ever since the whole lockdown because of the cough.
Yeah.
It seems to have just gone mental. You know, it's gone to the point when you didn't think it could go and get any worse, all of a sudden, bang, it does.
Everything though, the natural stuff like the weather and
yeah. I don't seem to remember so many bloody. Maybe I'm misremembering it. Maybe it is me, but I don't seem to remember so many. You know, like such like floods and you know, cyclones and God knows what that's going on at the minute. You know, and half of the landmass being washed into the sea and what have you. It's just something very dodgy going on. I don't think it's climate either. I think it's something more spiritual than that, to be honest.
I've not been a big believer in global warming. I think that would have happened anyway myself, but I'm not going down that road.
No,
but,
I'm with you on that. I agree with you.
Yeah. Even when I grew up in the 60s, and you see, obviously your memory plays tricks on you, but I'd like to think summer holidays, the sun shone all the time, you know, when we was a kid. But I don't suppose it did. You only remember the good times, but the seasons definitely seem more defined, and you had winter and autumn and spring and summer. It seemed to be that's how it was, but now it just all seems the same. Basically.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
no, you're right.
It's been freezing cold today. Had thick frost this morning, but it's going to be 14 degrees on Saturday.
Makes no sense, does it?
No,
makes no sense at all.
That's I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, Eric. But
I don't know what it is.
You know, it's like a frost, and then it's going to go up, and it's going to be that's relatively warm for this time of year, 14 degrees.
Exactly, Sean. I agree with you, Sean. It does.
It's mad.
Very off.
It's mad. Everything's off. Everything's off.
Yeah. It's so. It's just. There's no rhyme or reason to it, is there? Do you know what I was watching? Somebody said the other day. I remember Christmases and coming around to Christmas. I remember Christmases when there was snow.
Yeah.
And I think, as you say, you don't know because your memories time ago, a long time ago, and what have you. But I seem to remember consistently that Christmas there was snow, in the summer there was sun. Summer holidays it was blistering all the time. You were out with your mates.
Yeah.
On your bikes and what have you, or over in the fields playing and what have you.
It was out here.
What they said the other day is, we only had 2 days in the 70s when it snowed at Christmas, and I'm thinking, or 2 times. I'm thinking, no, I remember it a lot more than that.
Yeah.
You know, now am I misremembering it, or am I?
Yeah.
Or am I right? I don't know.
I know a lot of it is you only remember, you know, what you want to remember, that your school summer holidays, it just sunshine all the 6 weeks you was off. But I don't suppose it did. But you only remember it as it. But the seasons were definitely more defined. You definitely had seasons, didn't you?
Yeah, there was definitely seasons. Definitely, you know. Another thing I remember from childhood as well, and I think it's probably because of the 70s and that, and the 60s and 70s, because of the smell of open fires and coal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You could smell that a lot more, couldn't you, in the evenings, winter evenings when you were a kid?
Yeah.
And you only get that now if you go through villages, don't you? You know, little cottages and countryside. But it seemed to be a thing in a town as well when I was a kid, and chimneys would smoke and all sorts of things. But you don't see it now, do you, really? Because
it's all electric heat or central air heating, whatever you want to call it now.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very odd. But even in the 80s, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said, you know what? I remember looking at the 80s, and I used to work with the public in the 80s, and people seem to be a lot nicer than they did today. You know, I never remember people getting divided over the difference of a political opinion.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, if somebody's got a political opinion and a difference from mine, so what? It doesn't matter, does it?
Yep.
If they vote for somebody else, so what? It doesn't really matter. You know, it makes no difference to me. They
weren't offended like they are now over it.
No, everything's an offence now, isn't it? Everything's taken.
Oh, God. Yeah, that's why we call it a snowflake generation.
Well, it is.
We got right
All
we
up
got
Krampus
right
Club.
down a rabbit hole here, haven't we?
He caused it, didn't you know, William? He caused it.
You're lucky
But-
that
Yeah.
you're real.
Yeah, it's interesting.
You're lucky
It's
that you're real.
So, what do you think?
Oh,
What do
it's
you think about the
Pussycat.
idea of Whee! There you go, Krampus.
Krampus
Krampus.
cat.
Oh, his
Krampus
head's
cat.
Kramp-
disappeared.
Krampus. That is.
Krampus.
Krampus.
Krampus. Has he got a little sack that he puts on his back and takes away naughty kittens at Christmas?
Yep. She doesn't like me kissing her. She grumbles at me.
Oh, they do, don't they? Hazel does that to me. But yeah, it's intriguing. I'm hoping to dig out some information on some other Christmas myths and legends and what have you.
Yeah, we could do like a whole episode of Christmas legend creatures that
Yeah. There's quite a lot. I mean, you've also got Christmas hauntings as well, haven't you? Which are
Yep.
particularly good and interesting ones. There's some very good Christmas hauntings or legends and myths of Christmas. Well,
Yeah,
I'd
we've
say
got,
legends and
we've
myths
got
are
one
not
up
true.
here in Northampton, yeah. With my favourite place, Ancient St John's.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know
Christmas
what? I
Eve.
remember reading about a story about, you might know more about you. Well, hopefully you do. You're the best bloke to ask, really. I remember reading about a haunting in Northampton where the guy goes past a pub on a push bike and then just fades.
Yeah, I heard
Yeah.
about that.
You heard about that?
Yeah.
In fact, I think I saw somebody catch something.
I've heard that too. I can't remember what pub it is, but we have got loads of pubs in Northampton. We had, I think, Bridge Street. It had the most pubs in the country well, not just England, but the whole of the UK. It had 43 pubs
Wow.
in just over a mile.
No wonder they're
It's
all
like
pissed up then,
Wisconsin.
them Victorian
Yeah,
times.
that was Bridge Street in Northampton. Yeah, and you just go down there now, and you can feel the energy just walking up the street. It's amazing.
It's all the history, mate. And
Northampton's the biggest. Northampton is the biggest town in Europe.
well, it was what do you call it? Well, it was a massive industry for boot making.
Yeah, but
Shoes
they
and
won't
boots,
make
wasn't
it a city. They won't make it a city because it was all. It was against Crown. We were the Roundheads, weren't we? Yeah.
But it is. Yeah, Northampton's. Yeah, it's all ancient. Isn't it?
They
But
also
Northampton has
did
got a lot of,
cloth as well.
yeah. So you had Northampton for shoes and boots and cloth, didn't you? And then you had Luton and that for the hats.
Hats, yeah, Hatters, yeah.
The
And their
Hatters,
football
wasn't it?
team
Yeah.
called the Hatters, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what they called him,
but,
Mad as a Hatter, wasn't it? Because there was a
Yeah,
cat
I was
called
just going to say that. That's where. because
Yeah,
they were
Mad as a
using,
Hatter.
what? Zinc.
Yeah, so
in their
Far
hats.
Cotton, I mean, that's where I'm from. Obviously, cotton's coming into the cloth side of it. But
Oh, and to answer your question earlier, it's -1 degree Celsius here.
Bloody hell, but it's freezing, isn't it?
that's
You got much snow
it's
yet?
colder here. It's colder
A
here than
little
that.
bit here and there.
We got ice on the trees outside.
No,
So
William Krampus and climate change are not related topics. How long have you been watching these shows? I digress off topic as at all. It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Northampton's got lots and lots of paranormal activity attached to it, isn't it? Lots of activity there.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I'm telling you, 6 months is not going to be long enough.
No, it won't be. All right, Nettie.
You got to come up, Dan. You got to come up and
I definitely
I'll show
will,
you
mate. I
around.
definitely.
Get your tattoo done and
You're only
come
about
up
an
to St.
hour from me,
John's.
3/4 of an hour.
just let
You're
me know when you can come on. I don't go work. I'm retired. You can go up to job. You get so as much activity in the day as at night there. I don't think I've seen you since. We went, my friend Tony, we went up there 2 weeks ago and just sit there. There's a bench down there. It's a ruin. It's hard to describe what it looks like. Sitting there inside. It's inside, but because there's no roof, it's outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben, I've got a little REM pod. You know the little REM pods that look like radios, only the small ones.
Yeah.
And
Like
we've got it on
the mini REM pods.
Yeah, we've got it on a flat windowsill. There's no way it's going to fall. It's been there an hour, right? And Tony's, she's a medium, and she's calling out and talking. And all of a sudden, the REM pod goes off. So we look at the REM pod, and all of a sudden, it comes out 4 feet from where it's sitting and falls on the floor.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
And we got. Now, I don't really like apps. I don't like phone apps. I don't. But on this occasion, the app said, I want you to leave now. Exactly after this jumped off.
Okay, quiet now.
So she said, oh, I'm sorry about that. Tell us your name. If you tell me your name, and we'll leave straight away. And it come up, William. So we left. But that's what it's like there. It's just amazing.
And of course, it's like
place.
anything, isn't it? The more you go to these places, they
Yeah,
kind
we're
of get used to
regulars.
you.
Yeah.
They pick up on your energy as well, don't they? And they trust
Yeah.
you. They begin to trust you, you know. I think it's like I was saying the other week when I've done investigations in buildings like pubs or places where people work. I've always said, look, is there any chance we could have 1 or 2 members of the staff stay behind and just try and get it to kick off a bit? Because they'll be reluctant to speak to us. But if they've integrated with them stuff, they've been here a long while, they'll see them as part and parcel of the building. So they will talk to them. You know, they'll be more open to them. And I think that's the thing. When that annoys me when people do an investigation and they turn up and go, oh yeah, like they pay their money or they book a place for whatever and they go 7 hours there and there's nothing. And they go, oh, I wouldn't bother going there, there's nothing. And it's like, well, no, there probably is nothing there or there probably is stuff there, but it won't talk to you, it won't engage with you because it doesn't, you know. So when they come back and say, oh, well, it's not haunted, so, well, that's absolute bollocks. You know, how do you know that?
Going back.
Yeah. I mean, we did a place years ago, and I said to the group, or a couple of us said, look, let's do this over a year. Let's take this seriously. Let's go to this place over the course of a year. It was meant to be really, really haunted. And lots of people had registered activity that had gone on there. So we was like, okay. So we went, first month, nothing. Second month, little bits, but it might not have been paranormal, to be honest. And then by the time we were into the 3rd and 4th month, then they got interested. And then they noticed that you were going there regularly. And then they started to engage with you, you know. By the 5th month, we were getting not just EVPs, we were getting audible sounds and voices, you know, to the naked ear. So you could hear them. And this place is in the middle of nowhere. Not only that, we were getting, I suppose you could call it, well, it was like a cloaked figure. And he was moving above us. Where there was the stairs, there wasn't, but he was still moving on where there used to be stairs. And then looking down, and he just flew off. And that was during daylight. And then, not only that, but the longer we were there, we could then work out what was environmental and what we couldn't explain. So then we could leave it after a year, all the information on it. I dare say, even if the team went back there now, the old team, we'd probably get some sort of engagement there, because it was, you know, the night I wasn't there, which was really, and this was verified by a second team, inside the woods by this old chapel. They said, you weren't there last night, Dan. I went, no. They said, you should have gone last night, because as we were walking, we came over the stile and walked down through the field. To the right, we looked into the woods, and to the right, there was a glowing figure.
Wow.
It was just a figure, looked like a man, but it was glowing. This thing was bright. It was like a daylight, you know, inside the form of a man. They said, and what happened was they panicked. One of the girls fell over, broke her ankle. So they then had to carry her because they panicked that much. So I thought, well, that's interesting, but I wasn't there, so I do believe them because they were honest, they were good people, they had no reason to lie. But I thought I hadn't seen it, so I can't really say yes or no. Now, anyway, it happens about 2 or 3 months later. We were doing an investigation over Cold Christmas, and walking up to Cold Christmas, I met this group of young lads that were also a paranormal team. They're only in their 20s, young fellas, and they were talking to me, and they said, "Do you do this place that we do?" And I went, "Yeah, I've done that." I said, "I've done it over the course of a year." They went, "Yeah." They said, "We did it for a while." They said, "But you know what? We came back." Now, this is a totally unrelated group, unrelated. Now, this is where you can stamp things, can't you? And say, "Yeah, that's definitely activity." He said, "We were coming back," he went, "and as they were coming back," he went, "Pete over there," he went, he was talking to someone. He said, "And the next thing I know," this Pete said, "next thing I know," he went, "They've run, I thought my mates were with me." He said, "A pair of them run past me, shot down, like screaming, shouting and screaming." And he said, "So I'm carrying on walking," he went, "and I thought to myself, if they're gone down there, who the hell is that I'm talking to?" So he went, "I looked to my right."
Yeah, I remember.
I looked to my right, he went, and there was this man that was glowing. He said he was like a ball of light. He said, but he was the shape of a man. And I thought, there's your answer. 2 totally unrelated teams, never had a connection with each other, just met up one night because they were on a different investigation, and the teams had the same experience. And that's the thing, isn't it? If you go there enough and they start to recognise you, then you're going to get more and more activity.
So, yeah, I think
open to you, which is what you get, don't you? You do it yourself. You get it a lot, don't you?
Yeah, we go up to this place, or say once a fortnight, and we always get something there. Like there is a spirit of a 10-year-old child called Emily, and you sense that she's glad that you're there. Both me and we always get activity from her. Yeah, it's a shame, but they are.
But that's the thing, though. They're sentient beings, aren't they? They're intelligent.
Yeah.
So, when they act, you know that you've got their trust when they start to communicate with you and engage with you. And it feels very different.
It does. No, it wasn't last week because we weren't on that. The week before we had Samantha on. Did you watch it, Dan?
Yeah.
Did you?
I watched it on catch up.
She got the spirit of these 2 youngsters in her old flat. And they went with her to the new flat. It's amazing, wasn't it, Eric?
Yep, they fell in love together.
They fell in love after death.
Yep.
Yeah.
The thing is, we don't know, do we? It could very well be that. We don't have no idea.
I mean, I never even thought of that. The only thing I don't want to happen is if you have to keep going to work when you're dead for eternity.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said that marriage is meant to be till death do us part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you die and then you go up there or wherever you go in the old woman's way, if you start for
But they fell in love after they both died, and they're both from 2 different centuries, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. It's amazing.
There's any reason why that couldn't happen, though, is it really?
Yeah, there isn't.
No.
You're you, no matter if you're in your body or not. So.
You imagine you had 3 wives and they all died. Which one would you go to when you?
Oh, do you know none of them?
No.
No. I don't want anything to do with any of that. I just want to quiet life.
Hey, I'm because I split up last April, and I'm just slowly sort of relaxing now. And I thought, no, I've had 3 wives. That's it. I'm staying on my own now. I can do what I want when I want. I can do what I want when I want, whenever I like. I can do whatever. And
that's the beauty of it, isn't it?
And I'm loving it.
That's the beauty of it. You please yourself. Nobody to be answerable to. It's like, but it is true, and it must be, especially if you're an old woman that don't stop moaning at you and having to go.
Oh,
and all of a sudden you cark it, and she's there waiting for you. It must be like for
drama queens, isn't they? Anyway, I bet sure I was going to get somebody will moan at me.
I don't care.
No.
But yeah, that's an interesting story, and there's no reason that couldn't happen.
No.
That they couldn't meet up like different centuries and what have you, and become just started that again after 10 years. It's strange. I know, Nico.
Oh.
That must be weird. A 10-year hiatus, and then all of a sudden you're back with a woman again.
Well, I got divorced in 2001 and got remarried in 2006. So
I'm not knocking women. Women must feel the same way as us, really.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, you get some right assholes in both sexes, don't you?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not. It doesn't. It's not discernible what sex it is. You get pricks everywhere, don't you? Whether they're men or women.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. That's this. Yeah, yeah. I wish I'd have been on there about to speak to her. I've spoken to her I think once. She's a nice girl,
she's
isn't she?
lovely. It was. I really enjoyed the interview. It was really good.
Yeah, she's a nice girl. Is she a medium? Is she?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
she
yeah.
is.
She's got this couple of teenagers because they're only both 17, weren't they? In her flat,
17 years old.
and they went with her because they didn't want to be in the old flat. So I mean, that's bloody amazing. I find that quite.
That's very cool, isn't it? That's very, very cool, isn't it?
But
Really.
she's on tonight at 3:30 on TikTok, and I'm watching her because she's going to be debunking equipment and apps. So
I don't blame her. I don't use a lot of equipment now, to be honest, because I don't trust a lot of it.
No,
I think
me
it's just,
neither.
basic stuff for me.
Yeah.
Basic.
I
I
can't see
like-
anything.
No, I know.
I
No. I've had some amazing stuff with equipment. I know K2s. When you haven't got it sat there, you haven't got no electricity, and you ask a question and it pops up to the red and then goes back down. You say step up. You can get some intelligent stuff going on.
Yeah.
It's hard to debunk, and the only one I'm really not, I don't, is phone apps. I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you. I think as well, the thing for me as well are ghost boxes and portals. I think the problem with ghost boxes is that you can interpret anything. That you know.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's always. I don't think I've ever had anything through a ghost box that hasn't been. Well, I probably have. I don't know, to be honest. There might be lying there, but most of it seems to be radio stuff anyway. And people jump on it and hold on to it, and it's like, well, that's just a station. You're meant to be really. People seem to forget that you should be listening for voices in between the stations, in the white noise. But they're not now. They're listening to the radio station and taking a DJ's word as, oh, that's a spirit.
No,
It's not like that.
Voice, but there's a voice over the DJs that says something, then that's something.
You can get that as well, yeah. Well, that's a good point, Eric, because we did an investigation years ago. It was at it was an old Elizabethan house, and this woman said to us, she said, "Oh, upstairs, you normally hear children laughing and running around and giggling." And I didn't think anything of it. And she said, "If you get up there and you're really quiet, you might be able to hear it." And we didn't hear anything. But the girl and I never really thought anything of it before, but the girl that I was working with at the time, she had one of these Tibetan singing bowls. And I'd heard that, or I'd read somewhere, that the sound from the singing bowl is meant to be a repetition or representation of the sound of the universe. When you get the right note, that's what the universe sounds like. And that is why they use them to align all their chakras and stuff, because they align themselves with the universe. So, okay, well, I didn't think anything of it. Whatever. And I said, I'll have to go with this bowl. And it was in the same room. But I wasn't trying to get anything with it. All I was trying to do is get the note and see if I could build up an energy there. But the weird thing was, when I got this bell, tapped it, and did the around the rim of it with the gong or whatever it is, and we got it whistling. We got this sound. You could hear children laughing and talking through the bloody bowl.
Yeah, they use the sound waves to use.
They were using the sound of the bowl. You could hear them through it.
Yep.
And then after that, I hadn't seen many people using them bowls, but I would like to use them more, I think, and just see because they used to be, a lot of people used to use them years ago, and then all of a sudden they stopped. But that
Yeah.
was a really good piece of activity, like really good sort of bit of evidence through that. And even the people that were with me went, "We can hear the kids," and I went, "Yeah, I know, unbelievable, just unbelievable." And
Bloody hell.
but those are the things. But things like phone apps and that, they're not worth the, you
No.
know, they're not
No.
worth the paper they're in.
No,
But
I'm not. I'm not
You're right
really
about
into it.
K2s as well, because I had a really good in-depth conversation with the spirit, I believe.
Yeah.
And she's a lovely woman, and she was hitting all the right notes, and she was saying all the right things, and the right, you know, lighting it up to the different answers and questions and what have you. And yeah, it was amazing. And that
Well,
went on
see-
for over an hour.
And that's what people need to realize. You need to ask a question and get a direct answer from whatever you're using, and then it's legit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I think too many people jump to conclusions about. See, I think a lot of people as well, they get this equipment. And Viv's right. She says a lot of people got all this equipment, but they don't know what they're doing with it because they
No.
don't take the time to sit down with a piece of equipment and get used to it. They don't study it. They just go, "Oh, that'll do. I'll have that. I'll use that." And I mean, we did the thing with the guy and turned up. He had loads of equipment, some lovely stuff. Must have cost him a
Hey,
fortune.
I am
And I
going to be
said,
making
"Well, how
my,
does this bit work?" "I don't know." He went,
I'm going to be making my own spirit box soon. I found the Perfect
Wow.
Radio to a DIY build that I can cut out the mute is what you have to cut out for a regular radio to make it into continuous scan. And I'm going to be doing that soon.
I think another thing people don't use as well, there's more than one spectrum of noise.
Hi.
Hi, Nicola. There's more than one spectrum of noise. So you
Oh,
get
yeah.
sort of things
Yeah.
like brown noise, grey noise, white noise, blue noise, yellow noise. And people don't use them spectrums. They always use white noise. It's like, well, let's see if we can use something else and see if we can get anything through that. But I don't see many people utilising that either. You know? And some of the old
Greatest-
basic stuff.
The greatest
Works
one
really
I've
well.
seen so far with the radio is that it wasn't even plugged into the wall. So there's no electricity to it whatsoever. It was a Victorian radio that kept doing voices through it by itself without being
Yeah,
plugged
see?
in.
See, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. I mean, we used I don't know if I told anybody before, we did an investigation at a military collection, and the guy I was working with, he'd set up a voice recorder, and he put it up in the corner, and he put a camera up there as well, and we left them running, and we went off, and when we came back to the collection, we got the audio. We got the voice recorder, rewound it, and when we played it forward, you could hear like klaxon sirens from the Second World War, like air raid siren, and then you could hear these humming noise like an engines, and then you could hear explosions.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was kept in a collection with, and it was like, well, there's nothing in there that does that. There's nothing in there. There's no recordings in there. It's just a collection. The only thing that was recorded in there that was electric, apart from the electric lights, is what is our equipment.
Yep.
So it was interesting. But I think when you
It's
go there, you
mind-blowing.
expect a lot. You what, mate?
It's mind blowing, isn't it? What's going on?
It is. It absolutely is.
It's
Yeah,
getting
it is.
bigger. It is all coming bloody. It's getting weird. I think the whole world's gone mad.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's, it's. There's more UFO sightings. There's everything going on.
Well, you've had
isn't it?
those recently, haven't you? Like last week. Did
Yeah.
you see that? They said that they said they were drones that had got over
Yeah.
these nuclear sites over here, where the American military have got their bases, and they've been hovering around these nuclear dumps in these military bases. And then they said the military came out and said they're not drones. We don't know what they are.
Yep.
But they're not
Mm.
drones. They're not the craft that they're not. They don't seem to be terrestrial craft. So you don't know
No.
what's going on.
Well, what people
Yeah.
don't know about drones is that military sites have this blocker. So if you try to fire a drone in their vicinity, it automatically shuts down a drone.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's it. It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. But it's a bit unnerving because you think, I've noticed that since it's been stepping up towards what people perceive to be third, I don't think it will, but the way people are going about Third World War, they seem to be getting interested in us and looking at these dumps, these nuclear dumps, and thinking, right, we're going to shut these down. If anything happens, we're just going to shut these down so they can't do it. Whether that's the case, I don't know, but it's just interesting, isn't it? And I think they did that before, didn't they? They got over nuclear American sites over here before, and I think they did it in the States, didn't they? These craft, they closed them down. They
stopped the launch.
They stopped the launches. So it's fucking interesting, isn't it? You know, it's intriguing, but I don't know. It's something to the more you go into it, the more you end up scratching your head.
Yeah.
You know, you think, oh, I found an answer, but then that answer throws up 50 more questions.
Yep.
It's just intriguing. It really is. But yeah, you're right. There does seem to be a big step up in paranormal activity.
Oh yeah. What did they? Everybody was been talking, especially in Dark Mirror Room, or show, that by the end of 2026, everybody be able to be prepared for aliens.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. Nothing to surprise me the way things are going. To be honest, I think if they, it was interesting, Nicola. I think if they did land, it'd be like, oh, they're here then finally, are they? All right. And I'll go back to bed.
That's why our government's going, we're talking about aliens that we have proof of this. Yeah, so we already knew that.
They know that, yeah. I don't think people will be as shocked as they think they will be.
Yeah.
No.
I think people are like, okay, we've had viruses, we've had world turmoil with governments and what have you. Everybody's at each other's throat. Fuck them, let the aliens come down. Who cares anymore? It's like that, you know.
They might sort it out.
But somebody needs to. What would you do though if the mothership came down, opened up, and Boris Johnson walked out?
Yeah, there you go. I was right.
Right, Boris.
Boris Johnson.
Oh.
I knew it.
Oh, you had some
You knew
stupid stuff going. Yeah.
Imagine. Right, guys, I'm going to make an early night, I think, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Get a bit bunged up again.
Yeah.
And what we do.
Five
Thanks,
people
guys,
now.
for tuning in, whoever tuned in to listen. I'm sorry I can't see your comments because I don't know what's happened to. I'm not very technological minded.
I haven't seen any comments either. Oh, there's one.
I'm a celeb. Who's in that now? That I'm a celeb. I don't even watch that.
Oh, Nico.
No, that's
I'm a celeb. No, I'm a celeb. Get me out of here. Yeah, check that show out. Just because I don't.
Have you got that in the States? You haven't.
I'm sure I can find it.
Yeah, you have. No, Nicola. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Well, everybody have
a good
night.
weekend. Cheers, guys. Look at me with me Harold Steptoe gloves on.